So there you go. So I'm Bart Jungens, technical consultant in the HPE team at Tech Data here. For those who don't know me, welcome. Email address, phone numbers, if you have more questions, will be at the end of the presentation. Yes, you will get a copy of the presentation as usual for all of you who managed to free up your time to be with us this morning. There's also a recording that you can find on techdataevents.be. So also from all the previous update sessions, for instance, last week, we had a really cool update session on compute and storage. And so later on this week, we're going to talk about converged, hyper-converged, and a few great software tools, platforms that HPE is making available for you, which is Cloud Physics and InfoSight. So more on that later on this week. Now, today, we're going to focus on the Aruba side, so on the networking side. And so Aruba is the networking pillar from HPE. And so today, I'm not going to do it all by myself, but I have Joris with me. So I'm very happy that also HPE is supporting us. So Joris van Hey is the category manager for Aruba, but I think that Joris can introduce himself in a minute. And so I will be here as well as a moderator. So if you have any questions whatsoever, I will follow up the Q&A, and then I will see to answer all your questions. Otherwise, also at the end of this presentation, of course, we provide some time as well for you, and even afterwards, right? So good from my side. The recording is running. I think that I said everything that I had to tell. So very good. Joris, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, everyone.
Fantastic. Good morning.
Let me start sharing my screen, but
yes,
first of all, I'll quickly present myself. So I'm Joris van Hey, category manager for Aruba Belux. I've been at HPE for 7 years in the meantime, and always been in services. And in October, I started at Aruba as category manager. Let me start sharing it. Voila. So the goal of today is to bring you all an update of what's been presented at Atmosphere 2020. So each year, Aruba has the big keynote event called Atmosphere. Last time it was in the March-April timeframe. And the goal of today is to really provide a summary what has been announced over there. First of all, I want to start with our strategy. So as HPE, we truly see the future edge to cloud. So on the right-hand side, we have the hybrid cloud. So everything in regards to our compute, to our storage, whether it's located on-prem or in the cloud, the connection between that and the edge, so the SD-WAN. And of course, today we will mainly talk about the intelligent edge, where we at Aruba are, of course, focusing upon. First of all, on this slide, I want to highlight something that's also been announced at GreenLake Day a few months ago, which is the GreenLake Cloud Platform. So the goal and strategy of HPE is to bring simplified tooling and towards the future to really be able to provide you the tools from within the GreenLake Cloud Platform to manage servers, to manage the storage, to manage the network, and so on, but also the as a service part of it. So if you want how you would like to consume it. So as you can see on the next slide as well, we have the common cloud platform consisting of the network, the compute, and the storage portion. And the whole platform was actually built upon the foundations of Aruba Central. So we've been really focusing on that for several years in the meantime. We've built a very solid platform, and the whole of HPE is elaborating further on that. So that's really also our strategy in the long run, to make sure everything is simplified. If we dig a little bit deeper into the networking portion, we have, of course, our ESP, so Edge Services Platform strategy. This is not a product you can purchase, but it's really our framework, how we position our products towards the customers and towards our partners, of course. First of all, we have the connect layer, everything wireless, wired, SD-WAN, IoT, all those things. Upon that, we have Protect, mainly ClearPass and our other integrations in regards to protection. And that next to that, of course, Analyze and Act, which I will also go a bit deeper on in the upcoming slides. Whether it's a remote office, whether it's a branch, whether it's a huge data center, or everything between, we really want to offer a solution to the customers, and also the flexibility in how to consume it, whether it's a capex upfront cost or whether they would like to pay as they use. Also there we want to provide an answer to them. In the next slide, this really summarizes what we want to achieve with the products and the new things we have announced in Atmosphere 2022. We want to make the IT operations smarter. We want to make sure everything is secured from the edge to the cloud. And of course, we want to adapt the IT operations to the business needs. And this is also what you can see, what our customers are telling us. So what are our customers telling us? They want one common platform to manage everything. They want to be able to predict and fix problems before they happen. And of course, they want to have a more adaptive model on how they can consume their business. And that's also what we are focusing on. We have here the customers, and that's also why we made these announcements. First of all, I will dig a little bit deeper into the one common platform. On the next slide, over the past few years, we have made some acquisitions and some other announcements. First of all, we have Silver Peak. So in the SD-WAN space, we have that acquisition. We focused on Wi-Fi 6E. We were the first brand to have a certified access point on the market. Then we had a huge annunciation together with Pensando, which I will go a little bit deeper into that. And we have also reached the milestone of 120,000 customers, even more at this moment, and also more than 1.9 million devices connected. By the time between Atmosphere and now, we have also reached the goal of 2 million devices in the meantime. The first big announcement is in regards to indoor location services. But why is this useful? Let me give first two example use cases. Let's take a hospital, for example. If we take one hospital, we know that per bed, there are an average of 10 to 15 devices, IoT devices, which are connected. If we then take an average of 6,000 beds for quite a large hospital, that takes up 90,000 medical devices. I think it would be a very big advantage for the hospital if they were able to keep better track of these devices by having a more accurate location-based service. Another example within industry is, for example, a construction firm. If we can accurately position everyone in such an environment, it can have a huge improvement over health and safety, for example. However, the challenge today is indoor location experience is lacking a little bit. The floor plans might not be very accurate. The traditional technologies like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, most of the time it's based on signal strength. They're not very accurate. And third to that, of course, the software requires extensive custom development, which is expensive, which is time consuming, so also not ideal. What we also see is that more than 80% of the Wi-Fi access points currently are not mapped because it's that time consuming. Next to that, there are some errors on that, 5 to 10 meters of accuracy, which is lacking. Next to that, it's only in 2D, and it's also not synced with the main vendors like Google, Apple, Bing Maps, so they cannot use that data currently. That's why we are introducing at Atmosphere, we have introduced at Atmosphere, Open Locate. What's Open Locate? We use the mix of two technologies. We have integrated GPS receiver. I have to add to that the term GPS hasn't been well chosen on the slide because it actually uses more than GPS. It's not only the American GPS system, but it's also GLONASS, it's also Galileo, it's also the Chinese variety. So it's really multiple positioning systems which are integrated. Next to that, we have the fine time measurement, which is way more accurate than measuring the signal strength. And with the combination of both, we are able to map the APs onto the maps, but we are also able to provide much more accurate location-based services. What we do is with the integrated GPS receivers, we can determine some anchor points. So the 600 series of APs all have these integrated modules, so they can act as anchor points. And then next to that, we have our 500 series APs, which all have FTM already built into it, so the fine time measurement. So the combination of both can provide us with an accurate map, and we can perfectly see where all access points are located. But to dig deeper into that, I will first show a video where we demonstrate how this works. Let me head to the video.
So what we're going to show you, we've set up a network. So here, basically, the network here in the hall is we have AP 515. So just to prove the point about FTM running on past on the 6 and 6E equipment. And what we're going to do is show you the kind of the way we have done it and how it's going to look in the future. So here's the hall that we're in right now. This is live data. And the way that you would normally, and many of you in the audience are familiar with the process, the way that you would provision a new deployment like this is you'd go into Central and you'd drag and drop APs. So Sachin has already put the APs in the corner here to simulate the GPS anchor APs. And the new workflow is going to, instead of having to do all the other APs, there's a button called Auto Place up in the upper right hand corner.
Hey, just before you go pressing that, I've got an idea. Let's have a race. So,
okay.
Dan, we're going to locate all the APs in this auditorium, okay? So,
all of them out
you want to start getting ready? I'm on the ready, set, go in a minute, okay? You go.
All right.
Okay, let's keep going. Tell me when you're ready.
Right.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready now? Okay. Ready, set, go.
All right.
Place.
Get my safety glasses, my safety vest, as I go to
And so the system is calculating based on the ranging measurements it's taken.
There it is. Get my measuring rope here.
And done.
Done. Hey, Dan, we're done.
Done?
Yep, finished. It sounds like you barely got started. Okay, so there we go. Every AP in the auditorium located.
So as you can see, it was really easy based on those anchor points, based on those new technologies to locate those other APs. And the goal,
what we're going to show
is really to have a seamless integration with existing platforms. Take, for instance, you need to be at a certain hospital, at a certain room. Instead of using multiple apps to navigate, that you can use the app you are currently using to navigate your car to the hospital, that it can seamlessly integrate to that indoor location-based service, and that it switches within the same application to also guide you to the correct room you need to be in. So instead of using multiple apps, that we can also do it with less. That's really the goal. As I said earlier, at the left-hand side, you can see our 600 series APs, which have the GPS module integrated, and then the fine time measurement is also applicable to the other APs. So for our customers, what this means is, if they want to make use of it, they don't need to replace their full AP environment, but they can also place some anchor points within the 600 series and also use their existing 500 series to continue like that. The next thing I want to highlight is a new announcement together with one of our partners. I think the majority of you probably already knows the UXI sensor, so user experience insight sensor. And mainly what it does is what we've seen in the past is a management tool can say everything is green, everything is good, but that doesn't mean that the experience for the end users is good. So that's really the goal, that a UXI sensor, it measures it from the perspective of the end customer. It runs a lot of tests constantly. It can be YouTube, it can be Salesforce, it can be whatever you like it to run, and it can give accurate information in whether your experience is good or not. We have those UXI sensors available. However, now we take it one step further and we have announced the integration with Zebra. A lot of the customers are already using Zebra equipment, like the health hand scanners or mobile devices from Zebra. Now we have the UXI integration, so you don't need to use the standalone sensor anymore. It can, of course, still be applicable depending the environment, but if the customer is currently already using Zebra devices, there is also an integration with UXI. And the fun thing is also on the right-hand side of this slide, it's also compatible with OpenLocate. So now we can also easier see where are issues coming from and where are they located physically on the map, so that we can already spot where are some zones where there is a potential issue, and we can dig more deeper into it and make sure we tackle them. Of course, we fix them. On the next announcement, I will go into our SD-WAN portfolio. So I mentioned we have acquired Silver Peak a few years ago, and up till now, it was mainly standalone. However, now we introduced the single fabric from SD-WAN, so integrated with in Aruba Central, where Central really becomes the single pane of glass where everything can be managed through, whether it's our Edge Connect mobile, so the VIA client as we used to call it. We have our Edge Connect micro branch using the remote access points, the Edge Connect SD branch, also formerly known as SD branch, and then Edge Connect Enterprise, formerly known as Silver Peak. It will all become integrated in Aruba Central. One side note, it's not yet there today, it's on our roadmap, but we are really going there. So that's also something to look forward to, that we can, depending on which side you are at, use the proper tool and implement it in one single fabric. It might be that for some sites, a micro branch is more applicable, at other the SD branch or the enterprise, so we can also use it simultaneously within Aruba Central. Today, I mainly want to highlight the micro branch. So going to the next slide. So as you can see, it's really our secure office experience to employees anywhere. And what's the fun thing? There is no need for additional controllers and so on within AOS 10, which will be general available pretty soon. It's currently planned for the end of summer. It's possible without a gateway to use an access point from the 300 series or above with AOS 10 running on top of it to create that SD-WAN to the other sites. So there is no need to implement a gateway and so on. And we currently, for example, if we take a look at the SASE framework, where we have our cloud security, we already have an integration with Zscaler today, so that a micro branch gateway can also immediately connect to the Zscaler cloud security, so that there is no need to first route it anywhere else, but that we can immediately have that connection as well. So as you can also see from the next slide, so it's available from AOS 10 and further, and 300 series or above. And we expect it to be somewhere, late summer timeframe. Moving to the next topic, and this is really, I think the majority of you will already have seen something on it on LinkedIn or already saw a webinar or anything. So we introduced the distributed services switch, what we call the CX10K. If we take a look at the past, at 1990, we start with layer 2 switching, very familiar to a lot of people, of course, the flat network spanning 3 and so on. Then we went to 2000, layer 3 switching, so core aggregation, edge design. Then 2010, we went to the spine leaf, we went to VXLAN, things like that. But now we are really trying to push it one step further, and we introduced the distributed services switch. So it's a collaboration with Pensando. Pensando, for those who are not yet familiar with it, it's founded by John Chambers, former Cisco CEO, and also a lot of the people who were developing ACI at Cisco went to Pensando and designed this chip together with Aruba to provide additional services, which I will dig into in a second. So if you can see here, our CX portfolio. So at the left bottom end, we start with our CX 6000 and we move all the way up to our enclosure, the CX 8400 on the right-hand top side. And above the CX 83, we also have now the CX 10K. But what does it do? So this switch has integrated firewall services, DDoS, telemetry, and so on. And the fun thing is it has a huge performance. But if we take a look at the customer applications, it's only 1/3 of the cost. And to give you an example, it will be on the next slide. So what we formerly saw is if you want to protect east-west traffic within your data center, so traffic running from one server to another, for example, if you want to do firewalling upon that, it usually goes through your switches. It goes to a dedicated firewall application, which is probably very expensive. And then the traffic goes back to the other application like that. But it forms a bottleneck. The data needs to go through all switches. It needs to go through the firewall, it needs to go back, which is really intensive. And also the firewall needs to be able to cope with it. So what was the idea of Pensando together with Aruba? Why not move those functionalities from a dedicated application into our top of rack? So that's also what they've done. So they moved the firewall and so on to that leaf layer where it can be processed. So we see a lot of interesting use cases also today. Take a look at what they called the collapsed core. This is very frequently now seen as a huge win. It's much more cheaper to implement it as this. Another thing we often see is integration with other third parties. A lot of people are installing probes on their network. They are measuring data. Those probes aren't very cheap, they are very expensive. However, the CX10K also has that integrated and can communicate with the other parties to provide that data and add those firewall services and so on top, which means that you have more capabilities with less cost. And that also makes it that much attractive to the customers at this stage. It's truly, truly unique in the market currently. There is no other vendor which has this to be able to do this both for virtual, of course, machines as well as bare metal machines, as it's on the top of rack. So this is really something we are proud of, and also want to position more and more also together with our partners towards our customers. There is really a lot of traction at the moment in this regards. In the next slide, I want to take a minute to talk about the middle part. A secure network can predict and fix problems before they happen. The majority of you who have worked with Aruba Central know we have the AI integration where we really focus on having massive amounts of data, but also compare it with similar environments, and also based on what we see in other environments, give some useful insights, and also be able to adapt where needed and to change or give some additional feedback to our users where needed. We really want to make it as simple as possible to the team, but also make it automated. And based on those items, we can really also boost the network performance by more than 15%. That's what we've seen over the past years. Next to that, it's of course very important for us to what we call have an easy button for the customers. We are all struggling nowadays, what they call the war for talent. It's difficult for companies to have sufficient trained IT personnel. So we also try to help with that by making some things easier to manage and less time consuming for companies to cope with. So in that regard, it's also the next annunciation that we make, which is called Aruba Central Net Conductor. So with Central Net Conductor, we really want to assist our customers by creating that overlay, network overlay, but in a wizard-based policy, really automatically, and no more command lines and so on, and also not that need for those manual VLAN creations and so on. So that's also the thing we want to highlight here. So we have that AI capabilities, we have those user roles defined, and based on that, we want to avoid those automatic, the manual interventions and so on, and we really want to have that human assist, as they call it, to make it that much easier, but still very secure. And to go a little bit deeper into that, I want to show another video here, because I think this demo provides it much better than I can explain. I think you have to see it to fully understand it. So let me play the next movie.
So this is Atmosphere. Can you show us a demo?
Oh, yes. So before I show the demo, I'd like to start with a kind of demo setup that the NetConductor, I would like to thank the NetConductor team who set up this wonderful demo. So what we're showing here is 3 sites. One is in San Jose, the other one is right here in Vegas, and the third one is in Geneva, which is across the continent. So these 3 fabrics are interconnected through an Edge Connect SD-WAN fabric. And what I'm going to show is how micro-segmented fabrics allows users that today, like for example, John and Dan are connected to in some form of networks in one site, are trying to consume applications that are in different sites. Like for example, there's a camera in Vegas that's pointing at you, and there's another camera in our HPE lab offices in Geneva, which is across the Atlantic. So this is how the demo setup looks like. Now, we start with, you go into the topology of the SD-WAN fabric. You have users connected in San Jose. Your users connected, this is a camera that's actually flashing you in Vegas. There's another one connected in Geneva. Now, all of these are interconnected, and the fundamental principles of how we do microsegmentation is using Aruba user roles. And these user roles are enforced local to the site on a role-to-role basis. But if it's going across sites where you don't know the destinations, then we actually transport it using a transport protocol like VXLAN. And then out here, what I'm going to be showing is something like this, where you have traffic. Let's say you have a traffic which says you have a security admin. John is a security admin. He's carrying a role. So when John authenticates to the network, he's assigned a role, which is a security admin, and he's trying to see a security camera. And this security camera is in Geneva. Now, if you look at this, with the click of a button, you can actually see there is a new tab in Orchestrator window, where in the VXLAN, we are showing this traffic where John, the security admin, is actually talking to an IoT camera in Geneva. And they all both carry a policy ID, and this policy ID is the fundamental basis in which we enforce security, no matter where the users are and where the policies reside, where the applications reside.
So the roles used to be something that would be locally defined and locally enforced at ingress, and now it looks like we're extending those roles across an entire network.
That's a great question. So that's one of the big enhancements that we've done from dynamic segmentation to net conductor is these roles are global. You could define them in Central, and it is applied across multiple sites and multiple devices, and it's common and consistent across all of the networks. Now, let me show you how simple it is to actually configure these microsegmented fabrics. What we have is a new service, and this new service essentially allows you to spin up a fabric, as I mentioned earlier. This is just a few clicks of button. You can actually have a workflow that you can define your name of the fabric. Some of these technology numbers are auto-populated for those who really don't want their L1, L2 engineers to kind of go too much into the technologies. We actually help this simplification by auto-populating a lot of these. You go choose all your devices, you give them the personas, and these personas essentially play a role in the fabric of who is the device that admits the users and where the applications resides and where is your WAN connection. And once you do that, you select all of these. You go to the overlay network, you're defining what kind of VRFs. And there are customers who've been traditionally building the networks on VRFs. So we actually allow them to continue using that where they are to migrate into their micro-segmented network by using the VRFs. And then this is the cool feature where we are actually bringing the wired and wireless networks together using a stub where it connects networks that run on dynamic protocols to the ones which don't do that. And then all you got to do is click on some of these buttons, look at the summary, and you're set. And once you apply this, the fabric comes up automatically.
Awesome. Cool. So there's our security camera. There's me as a security admin able to see that.
Yeah. So so this is something that we talked about global roles earlier.
And you know what? I can see those too. That's pretty cool, because I can even change some things in here.
Dan shouldn't be able to see the security cameras. Can you fix that?
Yeah, that is surprising. So I know John is a security admin, but Dan is a contractor. Looks like there is, let me just go look at the permissions that we have. So it looks like the contractor has, by mistake, got a permission to add a camera. All we are going to go is click, 2 clicks, and start applying. And you will start to see this policy enforced across multiple devices. And Dan is going to get disconnected from this access.
Ceylon, come on, man. I was having some fun.
Thank you.
I can't access it anymore. I can't believe this guy. Come on.
So can you summarize what we just saw there?
Absolutely. So in summary of what we just showed you is we made this network orchestration very, very simple. As you notice, with just a few clicks of button, we are able to actually get users onboarded and get them off. All this happens in Aruba Central, where you define the policies and you click, and these policies are pushed across all the devices, across all the sites, like you see here. And we were able to push John off the Vegas and the Geneva network.
Okay, that's what I wanted to show on NetConductor. Moving to the next slide. So we had one common platform, predict and fix problems, and the last one was a more adaptive model that can flex with her business. So in this regard, we are talking about network as a service. A couple of years ago, our CEO, Antonio Neri, mentioned that by 2023, we want to be able to provide everything as a service. So we are really getting there, as good as everything currently is able to be gotten as a service from HPE. So also at Aruba, we are really positioning ourselves as an as a service company. So why network as a service? Of course, being dynamic. If you need to fastly scale or reduce, being able to do so to cope with that change. Next to that, of course, being innovative. If you have a new line of business that you need to set up, a new product you want to launch, you want to be able to do so, but also have a lower operational risk. So we really want our partners to help our customers to be able to provide additional functionalities, but also help them with their day-to-day operations and make them as easy as possible to make sure that the customer can focus on their business. A lot of times IT is of course not our core business. It needs to run, it needs to be available when needed, and they want to make sure it's in the hands of a very capable partner. So that's also what we are truly aiming at. And at last, of course, enhance sustainability. We can repurpose, reuse the equipment where needed. If a customer, for instance, has a huge project for not a very long period of time, for example, it might be that we are able to reuse those systems at another customer. So really to enhance that sustainability. What do we have to offer in this regards? So we have, of course, HPE GreenLake for Aruba. I want to add something to those two pillars. First, we'll start with these two. So first of all, we have our GreenLake for Aruba statement of work based. So as the customer likes, we are of course able to provide a full offering towards them, how they would like to consume it, what time frame, is it including security, is it including the licenses and so on, can be custom tailor-made as they like. But next to that, we also released what they call the service SKUs. So those service SKUs or service blocks have 8 new offerings, which the customer can pick and choose, and they can purchase this as they like. A good example we frequently see is a building. Let's say we have an 8-story building, then they can, for example, pick, okay, I have that amount of square meters per floor. So 2 times I want the wired pack, and 2 times I want the indoor wireless pack, for example. So as you can see, we have here indoor wireless, outdoor wireless, and so on. So we have multiple service packs, which they can pick, select, and then also purchase. But I want to also highlight a third one, which is not listed in this pyramid. And that's what we call the managed service provider. So we have a lot of our partners, which you are, of course, which also provide managed service provider capabilities towards the customers. So also there, we have an offering to assist our partners in really bringing the MSP model to market. So then you can, for instance, provide similar services backed by Aruba. And also there are, of course, some certifications which need to be met, but should you be interested, don't hesitate to reach out. Can be to take data, can be to me directly, and I'm happy to elaborate further and to discuss and to share the possibilities. Let me move to my already last slide. So thank you all. If there are any questions, if you would like a deep dive on some of these topics, don't hesitate to reach out to Take Data or myself directly, and we can of course set up everything up and make sure you get the additional data you would like. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you very much, Joris. Let me switch back then to my screen. There you go. Very interesting. So also at Atmosphere, like Discover, yeah, a lot of announcements. And what I liked most is indeed, yeah, those videos, because then you can see indeed how it works. And now, of course, yeah, Vegas, San Antonio, and then Geneva is big, but hey, here in Belgium, I see also a lot of customers with what you call edge sites, so remote sites. It can be sales offices, it can be users working at home. So I see at least a lot of opportunities. And again, yeah, the hardware is there, but also the software, which is very important. And I think there on networking that we keep on, that we should keep us focusing indeed on also what the software can do. Because from my side also on servers and storage, last week in our previous session, we have shown that software is almost more important than the hardware these days. Well, with the demos that I've seen here, indeed, and with what NetConductor will be doing, also the power of your network is not only in the hardware, but also in the software, it looks like. So very interesting. Well, so far, I didn't have any questions in Q&A. So feel free for all of you that are connected, or Joris, I must admit, maybe everything was so well explained and everything was clear that no questions are needed. And otherwise, of course, yeah, feel free to send your questions to me and to Joris. And otherwise, if the questions will come later on, because by the way, I saw just a few slides with all the APs that are available. For those who are interested, know that, when was it? I think 2 months ago, somewhere in April timeframe, we had an Aruba update session more on the hardware side, indeed, with the new APs. But know that meanwhile, yeah, at Atmosphere, there are even new APs that are announced, like the 600 series and so on. So I think after the summer holidays, we will need to organize a new update session on the hardware as well, for sure. But so otherwise, if there are any questions afterwards, well, know that we have the HPE team at Tech Data, of course. Most of them are in here. Probably the part number people, the SKU people will know Wim and Christophe and Steven, who will help you with all the hardware and the best prices. Danny and Peter are the non-technical people, all for the partnership relations and so on, all the paperwork, all the procedures behind it. And I'm then the technical consultant to do these kind of demos, because yeah, these videos and these demos, I have the experience, yeah, show it to the customer is even better to convince indeed those customers to win those deals. So indeed, I'm gonna leave open this session for a few more minutes. So as long as you're connected, thank you for your time. We're gonna give back a little bit of your time so that you can move on with your usual Monday morning activities. So thank you for being with us. If you're not registered yet, know that tomorrow there is the other next update session about cloud physics and InfoSight. And on Thursday, there's a HCI, DHCI, SimpliVity, Nimble, Alletra, DHCI update session. So feel free to join us there as well. And otherwise, yeah, stay safe. Hope to see you soon one day, and stay in touch. And like I said, let us know for any further questions. And Joris, from my side as well, thank you very much for this really good training.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you all.